All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to week number 10. That is right, week number 10 of your 7314 class, which is your reference class. As always, I am your professor, Dr. James K. Austin, and this one will be a long one. I do have a habit of saying this one will not be long, and then it ends up longer than I expected, but we are going to be going through some of the more popular English resources and databases in this check-in video. So this one is going to be long. It will probably be at least an hour, so I apologize. But again, to speed me up, first of all. So speed me up, and then also, yes, take breaks if you decide to watch it. Grab a snack, grab a wine, or, I'm more of a Jack Daniels type of person, but whatever you have handy to sip on and snack on as you watch, if you decide to watch, please go ahead and do that because this one will not be quick. However, English databases are very important for academic and public librarians, so it may be very, very helpful for you to watch this one just to get a feel for what some of the more important databases are and how they work and what they discover. And you might want to play with them on your own after this video. We will do a few course updates prior to that. Prior to getting into those databases, and then we'll get into them. By the way, as usually happens, this didn't happen to me in the South, but here in the Midwest, whenever the temperature starts changing, I get very, very congested and my throat gets very, very sore and my voice starts to sound a lot different, which is what's going on now. So I apologize for that. And hopefully, as I guess, wake up a little bit more and come to my senses a little bit more. Hopefully my voice will come back, but my voice is very, very sore right now. So that's why I sound the way that I do, but hopefully I'll return to normal as this video progresses. Anyway, let's get into some course updates first. All right, so first things first is those Wikipedia assignments. Again, those Wikipedia assignments are coming due. They are due on October 31st, which is this upcoming Sunday night. So please don't forget about those, and please do not be late. It really will not take you a long time to do this for the most part. Yeah, just go ahead and get it done. Hopefully you will pick something that is of interest to you if you haven't selected a topic yet and don't know if your topic is acceptable, which most of them will be. Pretty much any Wikipedia page that you decide to improve, I am probably going to approve of it. But if you want to run it by me through email, you are more than welcome to do so. So if you have any questions about the Wikipedia assignment, austinj@missouri.edu, any place, anytime, any town, and I will get back to you and give you guidance on that issue. Also, this question has come both in the discussion board area and also in my emails, so I'm going to address it here as well. I do prefer a single file. So people are asking me, do I prefer a single file or do I want like the narrative and then the reflection to be separate files? I prefer a single file if at all possible, and you can separate the reflection from the rest of the paper with a subheading. That is how I would prefer it. However, if you turn in two files, that is fine too. But yes, I would prefer one single file with a subheading that separates the reflection from the rest of the paper. Also, second course update is that you will need to, again, continue working on those semester-long projects. The lull that you've kind of had in the class, which is purposely built in there, the kind of time off that you've gotten, that sort of thing, it is built in there purposely so that you are able to do some work with your semester-long project. And also we are going to be that, and then also just to again catch up on videos, and also it does help with if you are trying to do something really spectacular with the Wikipedia project, then that affords you some time to do that as well. But hopefully you have used this time wisely to work on your semester long projects. The lull is almost over, y'all. So very, very soon we are going to, I will be creating your LibGuide logins, and you are going to need to start on your LibGuides, which will be due towards the end of November. So just know that that lull is about to finish up really, really soon, and you will also have some discussion prompts coming very, very soon. So keep that in mind. All right, that's all for the course update. So let's start looking at a few English databases. Okay, so I am at the Missouri Library homepage, library.missouri.edu, and what we're going to do is we are going to go to the databases page for English, databases by subject, and we're going to do language and literature English. Okay, so you're going to see this landing page, and then you're going to see things related to finding research and criticism, finding primary and literary works, journals, background and biography, dictionaries, all of that stuff. And all of this stuff does come in handy and is a big deal as you are trying to assist people with their English projects. The thing with English databases is no matter what type of librarianship you're going into, you are going to need to be familiar with these. K-12 librarians use these databases. College librarians use these databases, including community college librarians all the way up to Ivy League librarians. And yes, public librarians use these databases. So these are very good for you to know. And much of what I am going to be showing you today are going to be things that you are going to find available at pretty much any library that you work at. There are going to be a few exceptions here and there, but I am covering some very commonly used things. Okay, so let's go in. And the first one that I am going to look at, we are going to look at these, or at least some of these. Look here first. Options. So I am going to go into the MLA International Bibliography full text. Okay. All right, and as you can see, when we get in here, you are dealing with your typical EBSCO database. And so this tends to be a very good database to use for, it's more specific, of course, than Academic Search Complete or Academic Search Premier, but it's still something that when you have a very generalist type of concern, this might be where you want to start. So let's just show you what this can do really quick. All right, so first of all, I do want to note that there is a very, very limited amount of, I would say, primary source full text here. This is very, very little bit of it, but it is one place to go if you might need some of this. So for instance, if I put in Langston Hughes and I select author as opposed to leaving this blank, and then click search, there are going to be a very limited number of full text things, full text poems for Langston Hughes, for instance. They have to be in this, specifically, it looks like all of them are in the Kalalu, I don't know how to pronounce that actually, but the Kalalu Journal, which is for the African Diaspora Arts and Letters. But you can get the full text to some of these Langston Hughes poems through this database. So this isn't what this database is primarily used for. However, if you are facing students who have to find a poem in a hurry, or something very small, a short story in a hurry or something like that, this may be one place that you can go. So this works for this, but it's not going to work in all cases. So I wanted to mention that first, and let's talk about some of the other things that this database does. I know what this database is really mostly primarily used for is for obtaining scholarly articles, things that, not so much criticism, although there is some criticism in here. If you are dealing with a criticism, a journal that deals specifically with criticism that is carried through this this database, and you, by the way, can check to see what periodicals are available through this browse periodicals option up here. So if it is a journal that deals with criticism, then yes, you'll find that. But a lot of this is like theoretical perspectives and other things related to other things related to scholarly dissection of literature and literary topics. So let's as our subject, I'll do this as a subject. It's not great to use this for keywords. Okay, I apologize for the choppiness of this. My scroll down wasn't working, and now it is. So let's say I want to use Ernest Hemingway as a subject, not as an author, but as a subject. Let's see. So we got Ernest. Now my my scroll down is working. So because I was like, where's my subject? And now my scroll down is there. So now I've got subject. So you can make Ernest Hemingway your subject, click search. And then as you can see, you have 5,000 results of things that treat Ernest Hemingway as a subject. So when you have people, when you have patrons that need, for instance, to find, just find, not so much, I'll show you a different database for like biographical information, but you can find some of that here too. But stuff that has been published in scholarly journals and scholarly publications and dissertations, and even in books and that sort of thing, that are focused on a particular author. For instance, this is a great place to go. And what you're going to want to do, though, is you're going to want to make sure the keyword search for this, the selected field optional, which is a keyword search, I tend to stay away from that in this database. But yes, when it comes to if Ernest Hemingway is your subject, or if Langston Hughes is your subject, or whoever the case may be, coming into this database, putting their name in, putting them as subject, and then doing a search, you will find lots and lots of resources. And then, as is the case with EBSCO databases, you can come over to the left and you can start limiting as you need to. So let's say, for instance, that I only wanted, like if I only wanted full text, or if I only wanted biography. You do have a little bit of biography stuff, but I don't really want to do that. But let's say that we were looking for biographical information. Fine. We can make those selections, click search, and that takes us down way too much because, again, this isn't the greatest for biography a lot of the times. But you do have some biographical stuff here. And then if I do take this full text limiter off, what you can do, again, is use your journal finder or interlibrary loan resources in order to find the text that you don't have when you, that you don't have specifically available in this database. Some other limiters that you may have, and I'm going to go ahead and take my limiters off here. Okay. All right, so taking my limiters off here, some other things that you can do, different source types, you might want to deal with those. So again, a lot of times you're going to be looking for academic journals, but not always. And sometimes you are going to want to find dissertations or just websites, books and book articles. So you can limit by those source types, and then also subject matter. You can come over here and do this as well. So there are certain subjects that are tied to Ernest Hemingway as a subject that you may want to kind of zero in on. So a farewell to arms, for instance, if you're trying to focus on that, click update there. And there you go. So then you narrow your results down from 5,000 to 292. So again, this is good to find your scholarly resources. This is probably where you're going to want to start to find your scholarly resources, but this is not where you're probably going to want to start if you're trying to look for your biography, your autobiography, or your literary criticism. And again, I'm going to show you where you're probably going to want to start there. But even if we're not dealing with people as subjects, there are thematic subjects or themes that you can look for and you can search, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. All right, so let's make me small again, and let's do, as opposed to a subject, let's say that we are, and it's very common to be looking for themes as well. So let's say that we are looking for a literary theme, and let's say that our literary theme was, let's say, feminism tends to be a very common literary theme that students search for. So, sorry, I almost spelled that wrong. So let's do feminism as a literary theme and click search. And so if you are looking for literature that is looking for feminism as a literary theme, again, this is a great, or, you know, a lot of other things as literary themes, this is a great database to go to. And as you can see, I've got over 9,000 results of things that are examining feminism as a literary theme. So, and then, I don't know if this is going to come up with anything, but let's say that I'm looking for bell hooks. Yeah, not very much, but still there's some stuff there. So again, just like any time that you're searching an EBSCO database, you're going to want to combine terms and that sort of thing. And that may bring you to, so if you were looking specifically for Bell Hooks and Bell Hooks's takes on feminism, or the literary, her exercising of feminism as a literary theme, then you would combine those subjects and you would be brought here. Okay. And just so you know, so if I take this out, then just do a search Bell Hooks, and there's going to be a lot more results. So again, this is something that you can do if you are not a whole lot more results, but still quite a bit more results. And this is very useful when you are trying to execute these searches. Let me think of other things that we should show you here. Okay, so yeah, I'm not going to go into this individually, but some other things that you're probably going to want to be aware of, because you're going to be searching with these types of limits as well. Time period is good. So if you're looking for a specific era, like the Victorian era or something like that, then you can search with time period. If you're looking specifically, let's say for Spanish literature, you can go with a location search. Folklore topics, I've used this, but honestly, I don't know any specific folklore topics off the top of my head. Maybe concepts related to Robin Hood, I don't know. But again, you can also limit by folklore topic and linguistic topic. Scholarly theory or discipline comes into play a lot. And then also, speaking of play, that's a great segue. Performance medium is also a big thing. So if you are, I actually do want to do a sample search of this before we move on. So if I do performance medium, and let me just put in one act and see what happens. I don't know that this is going to actually produce anything, but I'm curious. So I want to see. I didn't do anything. And if I do one act, it still doesn't do anything. Actually, I'm going to pause and see what might return on performance medium. Okay, so I apologize. I sort of recall performance medium being a lot more useful than what I'm finding as of right now, but maybe I'm just having an off day. But definitely, if you put in just music, then you can see some of the things that are coming up. Folk music is probably going to be something that might come up as a performance medium, and perhaps also popular music. But so music as a performance medium will send you returns. And I'm not even gonna bother with other things. If you come across if you come across an inquiry and then you find out the performance medium is going to be the best delimiter to use in order to find resources to answer that query, then you can go ahead and select it. But it's proving not to be as useful as I kind of remembered it being. But certainly a lot of these other things, scholarly theory or discipline, again, literary techniques, all of these things, just get familiar with the different mediums that are, get familiar with the different delimiters that are available for what's in this database. And then when you are trying to answer a query, just be familiar with which delimiter would be the best delimiter to use. Okay, so we spent enough time in here. Let's go on to, actually I did want to do one other thing. So I've never done this myself. I've never really had the time to do it, but there is a free online course. If you just Google this, or you can try to copy this URL here. But if you just Google this, this is not behind a paywall, but you will need to create a free account if you're a student, and you will be able to access a free online course for how to use MLA International Bibliography. Okay. And again, also, don't forget that you can browse your periodicals here. So if you are, actually, let me see if something will come up specifically for like a journal that is dealing with criticism. Okay. So actually, there are quite a few. So yes, this can be useful for that. However, what I'm going to show you next is what I prefer for my literary criticism. Let's get back to it. Okay, so there's going to be a bit of a bait and switch here too, because I don't like the Gale package that Mizzou is featuring. However, most libraries, again, most academic libraries, and certainly the public library that I'm using, Mid-Continent Public Library, does have access to what I actually wanted to show you would be your first stop for if you're looking specifically for criticism, and that's going to be the Gale Literature Criticism Database. So I am actually going to access this through Midcontinent. All right, so, and by the way, even if you end up working at an academic library and your academic library doesn't have something, it is totally legal and totally appropriate to use the local public library resources. And I had to do that when I was a librarian at UMKC a lot, because UMKC did not have access to the Kansas City Star, but the local public libraries did. And a lot of times people students needed newspaper articles from the Kansas City Star, and they could not get them from the academic library, but we could get them from Midcontinent and some of the other local systems. So, yeah, you have more of a scaled down Gale offering for literature offered through Mizzou. But if you use a public library interface, then you can get like the Gale biography or the Gale literature and those sorts of things. And what you can do now, I'm in Gale Literature Criticism, and I can go to Advanced Search. So let's say that, yes, I want to go ahead and I can do the, no, don't do that. I can search for person, by, or about. And again, let's go with Hemingway. So Hemingway, person, by, or about, and then I can click search. And as you can see here, I still have my biographies as well. So this is why I was saying that this is my go-to for both criticism and biography. And another great thing about this database is that it does, in fact, default into full text. So that's also going to be very, very useful, because you can pull information from this Gale resource very, very quickly. So let's say I need literary criticism. There's going to be a whole hell of a lot of it with Ernest Hemingway. So, you know, I've got 656 things, full text right there, sorted by relevance. That is some good stuff right there. And what you can do is you can go into any of these. First of all, you can kind of get a feel for how long it's going to be, among other things, based, and also when it was published, all of these sorts of things, right before you even click something. So, let's say I want this long one here. So I've got my literature criticism here, and I just go in and I pull up my full text. Assuming it loads, and there you go. All right. The one issue you may run into with some of these, it's not always the case that you can actually get something that you can actually highlight text and copy and paste text and that sort of thing. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. That's kind of a nuance of the database, and that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And then again, you can save your permalinks, you can download, you have sample citation tools and that sort of thing. And the sample citation tool will also help you with knowing, you know, when, let's go with APA 7, with knowing when, and as you can see, by the way, because I don't know if I've mentioned it in this class, but I try to mention it, especially to students when I'm actually in practice, is that the generated computer citations are only accurate in these databases about 80% of the time. And while that might sound good, that means that if you have 10 sources in your bibliography or your reference list, then that means that there's a good chance that 2 of those 10 are incorrect. So you want to be mindful of that. And as you can see, this is incorrect. As you all know, the capitalization does not work this way in APA. So you do have that you have to contend with. And I think some of you did actually just take some of those sample citations and use them in your first paper. Don't do that, because that will result in your citations being inconsistent from one another and being incorrect. Okay. But you can pull up your full text in a jiffy that way. And then also, yes, if you need biographical information, you can just slide over to this tab here, biographies. Again, it's going to default in the full text. And some of the biographies are going to be, of course, longer than others. So this biography might be a little shorter and might be something that I want to use for maybe a middle school kid, as opposed to if I come to something that's a little longer. Let me see if I can sort by length. Okay, I can't sort by length. but I can still scroll down, and this one is much more substantial, 3,500 words. That's a good piece right there. And so again, I can just kind of click that one and access my full text there. So this gives me a biographical entry for Ernest Hemingway, and it's a reliable source because they vet these for reliable sources. Also, topic and work overviews, and then reviews and news. These are good as well. For topic and work overviews, this is the case for. I'm not as familiar actually with Ernest Hemingway's his different works. I'm actually gonna do a search for Langston Hughes this time. So, and what you can do is you can actually put in. So let's say you have Langston Hughes, and then you can actually see name of work. I'm just going to put in Raisin and then search. And, oh, I don't have my topic thing here. So, okay. Oh, that's because he didn't write Raisin in the Sun. What am I thinking? I'm sorry. I am screwing up. This is a bad day for Dr. Jace. Okay, let's try this again. Dr. Jace is going to get his stuff together at some point. He will. Okay. And I still don't have my topic overview thing. But this is a good way to narrow down. So if you do literature criticism for Raisin in the Sun, this will get you kind of limited there. Let me try to just do, now I'm just going to do Raisin in the Sun. Now you're seeing all of these mistakes, and I'm sure it looks really sloppy, but just know that the search process for you all in real practice is going to look like this. A lot of times people are going to be asking you about things that you don't really know a whole lot about, and so you are going to hit dead ends. So that's why I'm letting you see all the dead ends as opposed to editing out the dead ends or trying to practice before I do this so all you see is my perfection. No, you're going to hit dead ends. So this is your learning process, and you're going to have brain farts like not knowing who wrote Raisin in the Sun. I'm probably the only person who has done that today, and probably some of you were screaming as I did that. Hey, Langston Hughes did not write Raisin in the Sun. I am sorry. Okay, so Raisin in the Sun. And of course I'm going to do play. Let me see what happens when I just do name of work without doing that whole author thing attached to it. Okay. And so now you have topic and work overviews. And because I did want to show you this. So topic and work overviews, this piece here will deal with, if it's going to show up in these returns, then that means it deals with that specific work that you have chosen enough that it will appear. Like it, obviously, this is not just dealing with Raisin in the Sun, but Raisin in the Sun is going to be a substantial part of that, and that's the reason of this, and that's why it is going to appear in this list of returns. Okay, so we've got it there, and it's not fully covering it, but as you can see, it's got mention to it, and so this again is helpful for when you are actually looking for the name of a work. So biographies related to Raisin in the Sun are probably going to get you mostly Lorraine Hansberry things, but as you can see, some other things may come up. So that's how this works, and this is typically how I get quick literary criticism and how I get quick biographies, because a lot of times you just have somebody there with a limited attention span and you don't want to lose them. Okay, so this is another one. I don't recommend what Mizzou offers, because Mizzou basically offers a very scaled down index of the Gale resources for lit and biography in the English language. So what you're probably going to want to do is see what your public library offers. And if your public library, definitely if your public library is a public library for a major system, there is a very, very good chance that they are going to offer something very, very substantial. They're going to offer maybe the full Gale package, and that's what I have here. Okay, so this, you may want to contact your public library, see if they offer this, and if so, you may want to access this through them and play around with it a little. Let's move on. Actually, since we're here, because you do use the biography resource. Okay, and just to show you, these things do kind of, for basic purposes, these things kind of overlap. So if you go into the Gale Literature Dictionary of Literary Biography, you're going to see pretty much the same thing, even though they're listed out as two different databases. So again, Langston Hughes, you do this, and you've got biography, you've got topic overview, less literary criticism. So again, go to the criticism database if you're looking for criticism, but you see a lot more biography here. There is overlap, and then you'll even see bibliography here. So that can be very helpful. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time in that. Just wanted to show you that there is a little overlap, but those things can be searched separately, and you will get some differing things depending on if you search them separately. All right, next we're going to come back to Mizzou's webpage, and we're actually going to look at a ProQuest database that can also be used for finding criticism. That's going to be Literature Online. And frankly, I don't really like how this database searches, but I mean, it is what it is. But the great thing about this database is you can, in fact, find an author landing page, and the author landing page does end up also being a great pathfinder for finding related information, whether it's primary texts. And you can find primary texts. This is a very sneaky sort of database for using, again, if you're looking for primary texts, for poetry, drama, and prose, mostly, I think, short stories. But you can also find the criticism here as well. I'm going to do another Hemingway search. I'm just going to do the anywhere because I'm going to keep this simple. So you can do Hemingway Ernest. And actually, one thing I don't like about this, again, is that it kind of will, a lot of times, just kind of default you into a very weird list of returns, even if you have a specific query. But if you can find that author page when you're looking for authors, that is what really, really is helpful for this. You can limit to content types, but I'm going to go in this back way first. So Hemingway Ernest is going to give me suggestions for other searches. So, all right. So we can scroll down here, and other searches to try can be used here. So Ernest Hemingway, 1899 to 1961 person, and then you can do person and novels or whatever you're trying to do if you're looking for other common searches. Person and politics, that's actually pretty interesting. So some things are coming up there. You've got some, looks like you've got some criticism that shows up first. And this should be, if it's appropriate to the search, dealing with Hemingway and criticism related to political criticism related to Hemingway's works. So you've got that, and then also is very helpful. By the way, even though you have 3 that come up in the preview, it's good to notice that here you can pull 83 criticism results. And this is specifically for criticism with the politics arena. Don't forget that it's not all of the criticism for Ernest Hemingway. But when you do that, Ernest Hemingway and politics, that's when you're getting that limit for 80-something. Again, recent works, you got 4 recent works total that are accessible through, or at least you can be led to these resources through this database, and then you've got secondary sources coming down here. And then, of course, you have your typical limiters on the left-hand side. Always be familiar with your limiters. So if you come over here, and what I really, really want to see is anyway, there should be an author landing page coming up, and now it's not. Let me try another way. Let's see if it does change it back to that. Yeah, definitely not on my A game today, but I figured out what I was doing wrong. Okay, I'm sorry. So you can have Ernest Hemingway, you can search here, and then once you go back down again to this other searches to try, this one right here, that's when you can get to your author landing page. So I apologize for that. But again, this is what's going to happen to you on the job. So author pages, Ernest Hemingway. And now I've got a landing page that includes a biography, a little bit of pertinent biographical information toward the top, including literary periods and the literary movements that he was involved in. You can scroll down and then you can get to recent criticism. You can find various criticisms over time. So if you, let's say you didn't want to get the recent criticism, you wanted to get maybe something from the 50s, you could actually click that. And then you would be taken at least to indexed entries from that era. You're not necessarily going to have the full text right there. But again, that's when you would use either your Journal Finder options or your Interlibrary Loan options to get that full text. And when you have grad students, yes, they are going to need that stuff that's not immediately in the database. So you may have to pull out those stops and go through something like Interlibrary Loan in order to really complete their request. Okay. So again, you have the recent criticism, and you can view all criticism over time, view all relevant reference works, authors from the same literary movements. That can be very helpful as well. And then dissertations and theses. Okay. So yeah, there's a bit of clunkiness to this one. Some of that clunkiness was me. I'm not going to front like it wasn't. Some of the clunkiness was me, but also ProQuest databases, in my experience and in the experience of a lot of other people, is not quite as user-friendly as EBSCO. And I'm not being paid to say this by EBSCO, but I'm just saying EBSCO seems to have the most user-friendly interfaces for a lot of these searches, but ProQuest a lot of times can also get you better results. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. Okay, let's move on. All right, let's move along. The next one that we are going to go into is going to be good old JSTOR. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. And this is actually one thing that I need to preface for sure, when I talk about JSTOR, is that JSTOR is not an English database or a literary database. JSTOR is actually a dumping ground for a lot of different disciplines. Basically, everything in JSTOR is old. You will not find recent stuff in JSTOR. JSTOR is a dumping ground for a lot of different things and a lot of different disciplines. But having said that, JSTOR is also, it's very easy to use in order to get a lot of stuff, but the stuff is not really sorted that well. So JSTOR is great. Always have JSTOR in your toolkit because JSTOR is going to get you a lot of stuff. You are not going to have a low volume search generally with JSTOR. But the thing about JSTOR is that, again, all of the stuff is old. I think for most disciplines that are included in JSTOR, the content is at least 3 to 5 years old. But when I say at least, I mean at least. And some of that stuff I think is like 100 years old or more. But let's go into JSTOR, and I'm just going to show you really quickly. Again, if you need something in a pinch and you just need to build up a bibliography, come on, buddy. There we go. If you need to build up a bibliography, JSTOR is a great place to be. So, oh God. Freak. Let's go into JSTOR. And here's the thing, again, the searches in JSTOR, unfortunately, are extremely weak. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't like JSTOR, but I still love JSTOR because even though the searches are extremely weak and not very precise, it still gives you so much stuff that when you're dealing with grad students, you can point them to JSTOR and they will have their hands full for a little while. So, but we can do Langston Hughes again. Hughes, Langston, and let's try Dream, actually. That's not how you spell Dream. Let's try Dream, and then submit advanced search. All right, so a very basic search. All of this stuff, by the way, is going to be full text. It all is with JSTOR because it's a dumping ground. So 633 things listed. You can list them by relevance or by date. And so you got stuff going, like I said, stuff gets old up in JSTOR. So you got things going back to 1932. But you have things as recent probably as 2021. Yep. And then you have relevance. And when you do the relevance search, you're just brought to this listing here. Now, again, the searches are weak, so you're not going to have a very precise search when you're dealing with JSTOR, but some things that you're going to want to kind of keep in mind. On the left, yes, you can limit things in part by, as you can see, there are not a lot of book chapters going on here, but you can limit to academic content, journals or book chapters, serials or documents. You can do a date limit in the left, as you see there. But then what's really going to help you out is going to be your subject limitation. So let's say I'm doing something related to Langston Hughes and Dream Deferred. And let's say that I look at all of these various things that are coming up. You got Latin American studies. You've got, well, a lot of these things are still Slavic studies. Like, what's going on with that, really? So let's say you really wanted to focus on things that appeared in African American studies periodicals. Then you can just click that and you're downgraded from 633 results to 190. But they're a little more spot on to the subject matter that you're looking at. And then, like I said, everything is full text. So you can go in there, you can click this. You can, of course, download the PDF. And so that's helpful, but you don't have to, because I know you're looking at disk space too. You don't have to download it. You can look at it in the database interface and flip pages, which you see me doing here with these arrow buttons. And you get your bibliographic content here. So when you're crafting your reference page, you have the necessary information that you need there. So JSTOR is not something to overlook when you're doing literature. However, it is also going to return you stuff on a lot of other different topics. Okay. All right. Let's move on. All right. And then another thing that you're going to want to keep in your toolbox is going to be Project Muse. So we have Project Muse right here. And Project Muse is another one of those things that kind of operates a little bit as a dumping ground. In fact, I am going to just scroll down so you can see their mission. Project Muse promotes the creation and dissemination of essential humanities and social science resources through collaborations with libraries, publishers, and scholars worldwide. Forged from a partnership between the University Press and the library, Project Muse is a trusted part of the academic and scholarly community it serves. So Project Muse is never where I start, but especially when you're dealing with grad students, and I keep coming back to that, but it is what it is. Because grad students are going to, a lot of times, especially in this environment, be the ones who are doing the really serious research. So Project Muse is never where I start, but Project Muse is a resource that I tend to use when I am especially working with grad students and they are looking for things related to humanities or social science. So, again, I'm going to put in our old trusty Ernest Hemingway. You all probably think I'm obsessed with Ernest Hemingway. I'm not. It's just that the searches for Ernest Hemingway kind of seem to be the easiest thing for me to do a lot of times when I'm doing demos. So you got Ernest Hemingway, and then a lot of the content. Here's what you have to be careful of with Project Muse, is a lot of the content is actually content that is not going to be available to you. Now, again, that's when you, again, use your journal finder features or your, you can use your, interlibrary loan features or whatever other tools you may have available to you. But yes, if you want to limit just to the things that you have access to, then you can come over here to the left where it says all content and you can click only content I have access to. And actually, I went too fast. So what I hope you noticed was that there were 111 results found on Ernest Hemingway, but you see this little lock here. And then when I do only content I have access to, it takes it down to 19. And instead of that little lock icon, what you see is a check mark, and then you see these options to download. So these are the things that may have some mention and relevance to Ernest Hemingway. Not really seeing much in the way of promising works right now, but if I played with this search a little bit more, I would probably find some things that are more relevant to my subject matter of Ernest Hemingway. Okay. We're not going to go quite at an hour, so that's good. I am going to wrap up after showing you just a few more things, okay? So, for one thing, if you are going to be dealing with people who are in mass communications, there is another, which, you know, the journalism and mass communications will overlap with English language and literature. There are a lot of newspaper editors who will tell you they would rather have somebody with a master's degree in literature or history than a master's degree in journalism. So like if you got a master's degree in literature, I don't remember where I read it, but I remember reading an editor of the major paper one time saying, if I have a journalism candidate who has a master's in English and can crack Chaucer, that's somebody that I'm going to hire. So keep that in mind, and I think people in J schools may be being taught that. Communication and Mass Media Complete is another one of our EBSCO offerings, but this one does center more on mass media as opposed to literature, and so that can be helpful. So let's say I am doing, just for the sake of it, I'm going to do, who was a major journalist at one time? Al Gore, I think, had a journalism background, so I'm just going to throw him in there. His search is like any typical database, EBSCO database, but the focus is different. So when you're trying to get precisely to mass media and mass communication things, this might be where you want to go. And in fact, we have people Albert Gore here. Okay. And you are going to come here. And as you can see, I did just a regular search for Al Gore, like kind of a keyword search, but then I have a people, subject there. And then if I click that, it'll use this as a limiting option to specifically talk about things that are cataloged as being about Albert Gore, 1948 to the present. And so these 190 things that are coming up now are things that deal enough with Al Gore that they list Al Gore as subject. All right, and then with that extra step, if you want to click the full text, that'll take us down even further, and everything you see here is immediately available. That, again, searches just like any other main EBSCO database with a few nuances here and there, but this is good for your mass comm and journalism students. All right. All right, we're going to go through these last things very, very quickly because I'm sure you all are tired of seeing my ugly face at this point. We got, Jesus, we've got 3 more things that we need to look at. I'm sorry. I'm just not feeling that great. I don't want to be a wuss, but geez, as a Southern boy, Midwest weather does a number on me. I don't know how you Midwesterners do it. But yes, so I'm going to show you 3 more things, and they're going to be the Writer's Reference Center, something about the author, and the Bloom's Literature. So we're going to do those very quickly, and then I'm going to sign out. With the Writer's Reference Center, this is good in part because it's very good at giving you clarifications related to grammar, and that can be very, very good. So you do have some ready reference adjacent sort of things. So like you've got dictionary entries and encyclopedia entries and that sort of thing for ready reference. But also, if you are worried about whether or not what you are doing is grammatically correct, this is the database that you want to come to, Writer's Reference Center. Now, this is offered through a public library. I'm not accessing this through Mizzou, but a lot of public libraries do have this. So let's just say I'm actually going to do a search for Black. I had to use this recently to try to prove a point to somebody, and it didn't exactly work the way I wanted it to. But still, that had that search saved. So Once you put in a term, you should probably filter by type. That's what I would do. Dictionary entries are very great. And so you can, like, if you wanted to know what a BlackBerry was, of course, most people are Googling, but whatever. If you need to use something outside of Google, this is a place to come. But where this can be helpful, for one thing, British English. So if you are trying to separate the American from the British, for instance, then this might be a place that you can actually find how the British people do it as opposed to what's being done here in America. But then other things, grammatical terms, cliches. You can find cliches that have, like, black as night. I love it. So this is very good and very useful for finding this type of information. And now, in fact, I wish I had come to this one a bit earlier in the video, because I probably lost most of you by this point. But if you're still here, yes, this can be useful for this. Grammar and punctuation. And the thing with this is with sensitive terms, and I like that they have the sensitive term entry. This is not up to date and did not actually prove the point that I wanted to prove. Actually, in the APA, the AP, all of these various places now sort of note that when you're using black as a ethnicity, you should capitalize the word black, just like you would capitalize Italian or Asian or something of that nature. But this hasn't been updated to really reflect that yet. But again, for sensitive terms, you can kind of see what there might be. There may be better terms. We all know that words are important these days. And with a resource like this, you can kind of get a good feel for, for what language may be appropriate. Like if somebody, and pardon me for even saying the word. In fact, I won't say the word. I'll just click that the word is there. I've seen people use this term, and it's not the term to use. Asian is now the preferred term for people who have ancestry from East Asia, as opposed to this term right here, which I won't say. All right, so this is a good database to have in your toolkit, and you need to check and see, well, shouldn't say need, but you should probably check and see if your local public library has it. All right, and then we'll do these last two very, very quickly. Something about the author is very good. Again, and this one can be used a lot of times with children's authors. Maybe, I hope Judy Blume is in here. Let's see. Oops, spelled her name wrong. Judy Blume. So yes, when I'm dealing specifically with children's authors, a lot of times I will use something about the author as opposed to those other Gale offerings that I showed earlier. And so you can play around with that. And the last thing that I'm going to show you is going to be Bloom's literature. And so the great thing about Bloom's literature is you can land on, there's Langston Hughes, one of the most studied. So you can kind of just go right into landing on a author's landing page. You can get that various information that you want from the author's landing page. You can narrow your results. Again, you have criticism, literary works, images, videos. The images are good because these are images that a lot of times can be sourced out and used in papers without having to go through any channels to clear rights and that sort of thing. So that's something you want to keep in mind there. Literary works. Let's see. I do think that they have some full text with some of these, but they probably don't with a lot of what's going on here, but they do have, okay, so overviews. Oh yes, the character list. That's important. Okay, let's go back to Ernest Hemingway actually, because that is important. And this will probably be the last thing I show you, and then I'll wrap up. All right, so Hemingway, Ernest. This is good stuff right here, y'all. So if you go to the, holy mackerel, that is long. Okay, hold on while I pause. Okay, so here's really a better way to go about this. And I'm not going to do a farewell to arms. Screw it. I'm getting tired of this Hemingway stuff now. So let's do To Kill a Mockingbird. Because what I want you to see is that this is a great resource for when you're really looking for character information as well. So, To Kill a Mockingbird, viewing styles, To Kill a Mockingbird. Okay. So I am actually gonna browse this. This might be a better solution. Let's browse and browse for characters. Okay. Actually, there we go. We got Atticus over here. So Atticus Finch. And you get a bit of a rundown on the character itself. But there. Okay, thank you. This is what I was trying to get to earlier. So you do To Kill a Mockingbird. I don't know what I did wrong, but anyway, I'm on the right track now. So To Kill a Mockingbird, and then you do character list, and then you can get good information on the characters. That's what makes this one a really, really good one, is you can get, you can get analysis on the characters and various other types of information on the characters. So you can click again, Atticus Finch, and you got that rundown there. Scout. Let's find Scout. So you got Scout, and she is there. And so then you can get further information, but then also, you can do the search for Scout Finch and see what happens. And this is your way to, you can get reference information on Scout, and you can get some criticism on Scout. Okay. So there you have it. All right, I'm sorry, I know I wasn't on my A game today, but I still think if you sped this up and paid attention, you probably learned a few things that you didn't already know. That's always my goal, and I hope that's how it worked out for you. Anyway, we are just under an hour. I am Dr. Jace. Peace and grace, and I will see you next week. All right, take care of yourselves. Love y'all. Bye-bye.